Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me on my video presentation. My name is Ileana Aguilar, and I'm going to be talking about clarity in compensation. My paper is titled How Transparent Raise Policies Affect Employee Outcomes. So in this presentation, I'll be exploring why pay transparency matters, what different research shows about its effects on employees, and how organizations can implement clear, fair, and effective compensation policies. This will help to improve employee trust, motivation, and performance. So hopefully by the end, I want to show that pay transparency isn't just a concept of HR, it's a strategic approach to build fairness and accountability in the workplace. So let's get started. So starting off with the problem, uh, what is pay transparency? Well, many employees today still don't understand how or why the pay that they receive is determined. This lack of clarity can lead to frustration, distrust, and turnover. So research shows that when there's communication around how they are getting paid, instead of being inconsistent or vague, employees are more likely to feel that decisions are unfair or biased. So, pay transparency is basically open communication about how and why pay decisions are being made. So, for organizations, um, when employees are feeling like they don't understand where their pay is coming from and it's not very clear, um, they may start to feel like the unfair and unbiased. And when this happens, organizations could see an increase in turnover rates, lower productivity from their employees, and just overall a reduced morale of the workplace because they think that it's unfair. Um, kind of like when somebody gets a raise and it's like hush hush and they don't want you to know why. So, um, yeah. An example. So for in my research, Cullen 2023 explained that when pay transparency is missing, employees tend to underestimate their own potential and then they start to disengage from work. However, when organizations clearly explain pay structures and raise policies, workers do feel more motivated and loyal because they see a fair path to growth. So, the two main forms of pay transparency, we'll be talking about procedural transparency, which is the process behind pay decisions, and outcome transparency, which is the disclosure of pay levels. So, knowing this and sharing this with employees helps to build fairness and predictability. Okay, so how transparency shapes outcomes. The importance of transparency is strongly supported by the large research study by Tenhyala, Chung, and Park 2024. They surveyed more than 4,600 employees in 20 different organizations and found that procedural pay transparency was positively related to a mastery climate. So, what is a mastery climate? A mastery climate is an environment where success is measured by learning, effort, and growth. So, it's not competition based. Um, these workplaces, employees showed lower turnover intentions and they actually did improve their performance levels. So they saw higher performance levels and higher motivation. So, in other words, like when people understand why pay decisions are made, this could equal them feeling, respected in their workplace and that they're being fairly treated. Um, in another study, Colon again, 2023, he found that vertical transparency, so vertical is meaning understanding pay differences by seniority. So, if you're there X amount of years versus somebody who just came in, um, going vertical direction. The top person, the one who's been there longer, is getting more. And comparing that across the companies, this showed that it helped employees make informed career decisions and feel optimistic about advancement because they basically knew through loyalty that they would be getting paid more, and they saw that as an opportunity to stay loyal to the company. And that's basically transparency, where they saw how to get a raise. So if I stay at this company for X amount of years, it's a guarantee that you're going to be making more money because it's going vertical, it's based on seniority. So basically these studies show that overall, having transparency will build trust, motivation, and equity. So as you can see here, the diagram of the differences between the two studies. So one was procedural and then the other one was vertical, both showing, optimistic approaches and why pay transparency is positive. So now that we know there's a lot of value in pay transparency, and the lack of clarity basically can lead to employee distrust, low morale, and high turnover rates. To solve the issue, I would propose a formal, transparent pay policy grounded in both the research done and ethical practice for organizations. And this policy would need to define pay ranges and criteria for how those raises and bonuses and promotions are made. And within that, clearly communicating how pay decisions are made through maybe some regular informational sessions, whatever meetings are done, and just having an open policy of pay, so nothing feels like it's secretive. And then of course, ethically, to conduct annual pay audits, which would detect and correct any inequities in the organization, and that would be another kind of check and balance to make sure that there is fairness within the policies that they're creating. Something else that could help improve just pay transparency and employee outlook surrounding pay would be to train the managers and have them discuss pay professionally, even empathetically, with employees. There is a research from Kim and Park 2022 saying transparency can only be sustained when both leaders and employees engage in mutual understanding and accountability. So basically, by combining a clear structure, making sure that there's open communication, you will see organizations creating a culture of trust and fairness that will overall enhance performance and increase employee satisfaction. So, in closing, pay transparency isn't simply about the numbers on a paycheck. It's about the value in people and for an organization, their employees. It's about fairness and respect and creating that environment where employees do feel well informed and empowered and motivated to grow in that space where they're investing their time with the company. So from this, different research such as Tinkyala and Cullen prove that clarity in pay decisions directly support better performance and employee retention. So by implementing transparent, equitable, and well-communicated compensation policies, organizations find strength in both their ethical foundation and their competitive advantages. Ultimately, transparent pay policies aren't just good for the employees, they're smart and they're good for all businesses. Thank you.